Pennsylvania gets described as the state you drive through on the way somewhere else. What that description misses is a state with more miles of rivers and streams than any other in the contiguous United States. A mountain mine that grows ice in summer and melts it in winter. A hidden fourth river flowing beneath Pittsburgh, and a boundary line so precisely surveyed in the 1760s that it still defines two states today. These are 25 facts that prove Pennsylvania runs a lot deeper than its reputation. Subscribe to Wild States Facts before we start. Fact 1. The Mason-Dixon line, the most famous geographical boundary in United States history, is physically marked on the ground by a series of carved stone monuments known as crown stones. Each one was cut in England, shipped across the Atlantic, and placed every 5th mile along the surveyed border between Pennsylvania and Maryland. The Penn family coat of arms faces north on every stone. The Calvert family coat of arms faces south. Many of them are still standing in remote fields and forests, exactly where 18th century surveyors placed them. Fact 2. Pennsylvania has more miles of rivers and streams than any other state in the contiguous United States. Roughly 86,000 miles of flowing water. That is enough to wrap around the Earth more than 3 times. The Appalachian Mountains running diagonally across the state act as a massive water tower, feeding rivers that drain in completely opposite directions depending on which side of the ridge they start on. Fact 3. Just north of Harrisburg, the Susquehanna River cuts through 5 consecutive mountain ridges in rapid succession, creating a series of dramatic water gaps where the river flows between vertical rock walls more than 100 feet high. The river did not find these gaps. It made them, maintaining its ancient course while the mountains rose slowly around it over millions of years. Each gap exposes a cross-section of the Earth's crust that geologists still study today. Fact 4. The Appalachian Trail reaches its approximate halfway point in Pennsylvania, at Pine Grove Furnace State Park in the South Mountain Range. Hikers who make it this far have walked roughly 1,000 miles from Georgia. The park sits at the northernmost extension of the Blue Ridge Mountains, where 2 mountain lakes, Laurel and Fuller, sit surrounded by terrain that was once one of the most active iron-producing industrial landscapes in colonial America. Fact 5. In Potter County, deep in the mountains, the Cooter Sport ice mine behaves in reverse of everything you would expect from a cave. Ice forms inside the shaft during the hottest months of summer, reaching its thickest point in July, then melts as autumn approaches and the outside world starts to cool down. Cold air stored in the porous rock through winter is what drives this inversion, and by midsummer, the interior of the mine functions as a permanent subterranean glacier while the temperature outside climbs to 90 degrees. Fact 6. At the extreme northeastern corner of the state, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey converge at a single point on a narrow strip of land at the confluence of the Delaware and Neversink rivers. The monument placed there in 1882 to settle a boundary dispute that had run since the colonial era is known as Tri-State Rock. Because the rivers have continued shifting since then, the exact geographical point is sometimes submerged or surrounded by moving silt. Fact 7. Beneath Pittsburgh, a hidden fourth river flows underground. The city is famous for the point where the Allegheny and Monongahela meet to form the Ohio River. But deep beneath the surface runs a massive glacial aquifer, a thick layer of sand and gravel deposited during the last ice age, carrying cold, naturally filtered water along the same path as the visible rivers above. The fountain at Point State Park that shoots water 150 feet into the air is fed entirely by this invisible underground river. Fact 8. Wind Gap in Blue Mountain is a massive notch in the ridge with no river running through it. It was carved by an ancient waterway that no longer exists, a river that either changed course or was captured by another drainage system, leaving the valley behind. Today, wind funnels through the opening with enough force to create its own microclimate, with temperatures and weather patterns that consistently differ from the valleys on either side of the ridge. Fact 9. Ricketts Glen State Park contains 22 named waterfalls within a very short stretch of trail, formed as Kitchen Creek drops more than 1,000 feet in under 2 miles, cutting through hard sandstone and shale at the edge of the Allegheny Plateau. The largest, Ganoga Falls, drops 94 feet. The geography is so compressed and vertical that a single hike passes through conditions ranging from open ridgeline to deep shaded gorge within a matter of miles. Fact 10. Blue Mountain, the long continuous ridge running across the southeastern part of the state, is one of the most important wildlife corridors in the eastern United States. Thousands of migrating hawks, golden eagles, and peregrine falcons follow its crest south each autumn, using the steady thermal updrafts generated by the ridge to travel without burning energy. Black bears and bobcats use the same unbroken forest corridor to move across the state without leaving tree cover. Fact 11. The Whaleback Anticline near Shamokin in Northumberland County is one of the most perfectly exposed geological structures in the country. A massive arch fold in the rock, compressed and buckled during the formation of the Appalachians, uncovered by strip mining operations and now stretching several hundred feet across the floor of an abandoned mine. Geologists come from around the world to study it because it offers a three-dimensional view of the tectonic forces that built the entire eastern edge of the continent. Fact 12. Bilger's Rocks in Clearfield County covers roughly 20 acres of massive sandstone blocks, split apart over thousands of years by water freezing in cracks and gradually forcing the stones apart, a process called frost wedging. The result is a maze of narrow corridors and vertical walls rising up to 50 feet, with temperatures inside the deep crevices running as much as 20 degrees cooler than the forest above. The sandstone itself was deposited by ancient river systems more than 300 million years ago. Fact 13. Penn's Cave in Center County is the only cave in the United States toured entirely by boat. The cavern formed within limestone bedrock over millions of years, and the underground lake inside it stays at a constant 52 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. The water flowing through the cave's lowest levels eventually feeds Penn's Creek, which is considered one of the finest limestone trout streams in the state. Fact 14. The Elk State Forest in north-central Pennsylvania is home to the only wild elk herd in the entire northeastern United States. The animals were reintroduced in the early 20th century after being hunted to local extinction. The forest's high dissected plateau, flat-topped ridges separated by deep winding valleys, provides the open meadows and dense forest edges the elk need to survive, in terrain so remote that few major roads cross the high ridges at all. Fact 15. Ohio Pile State Park in the southwest contains a feature called the Ohio Pile Horseshoe, where the Youghiogheny River carves a near-complete 360-degree loop around a steep sandstone ridge rather than cutting straight through it. The rock is hard enough to resist the river's effort to shorten its own path. Hikers standing on the narrow neck of the peninsula can hear the river rushing on both sides of them simultaneously. Fact 16. Chickee's Rock near the Susquehanna River south of Harrisburg is a massive quartzite cliff rising more than 100 feet vertically from the waterline, its face displaying a near-perfect anticline fold, rock layers buckled into a visible arch by the collision of continents during the Paleozoic era. The structure has survived millions of years of erosion from the river below and remains one of the most legible pieces of geological evidence for the forces that built the Appalachians. Fact 17. Crystal Cave in Kutztown was discovered by accident in 1871 when workers quarrying limestone broke through into a cavern below. The cave formed within dolomite rock over millions of years, and its walls are encrusted with sparkling mineral crystals that reflect the specific chemical composition of the groundwater in this region. It has been operating as a public attraction for over 150 years, making it one of the oldest continuously visited geological sites in the state. Fact 18. The Quahana Wild Area in Clearfield, Cameron, and Elk counties covers nearly 50,000 acres of high plateau with almost no road access and no modern infrastructure. The isolation is partly a result of its mid-20th century history as a site for classified nuclear research, which created a large exclusion zone that was simply never developed after the research ended. The area has since become one of the most significant wildlife sanctuaries in the state, with some of the largest concentrations of elk and coyotes in Pennsylvania. Fact 19. The Lehigh Gorge in the Pocono region drops nearly 1,000 feet over a short distance, forcing tributary streams over the rim in a series of dramatic waterfalls. The gorge walls create a cool, moist microclimate where mosses and ancient hemlocks cling to the rock faces year-round, a completely different world from the plateau above the rim. Fact 20. Salt Spring. State Park in Susquehanna County sits above natural brine seeps, where water dissolves salt deposits from an ancient inland sea that covered Pennsylvania more than 400 million years ago and carries it slowly to the surface. The high salt content in the soil around the springs creates a unique chemical environment where eastern hemlocks, estimated to be more than 300 years old, have survived, hidden in a steep, inaccessible ravine that saved them from the logging era. Fact 21. The Blue Rocks Boulder Field at the base of Blue Mountain covers 15 acres with quartzite boulders split and moved by repeated freeze-thaw cycles during the last ice age. The boulders carry a distinctly blue tint when wet. No soil exists in the center of the field. The rocks are piled too deep for anything to take root. A hidden drainage stream flows beneath them, audible as a rushing sound from below the surface, but completely invisible. Fact 22. The Lehigh Valley in eastern Pennsylvania sits on a massive belt of limestone and dolomite that is slowly dissolving from below, creating a karst landscape prone to sudden sinkholes. The ground around Allentown and Bethlehem can open without warning as underground voids collapse. Engineers building roads and structures across this region deal with terrain that is in a constant, invisible state of geological change beneath the surface. Fact 23. Lost River Caverns in Hellertown contains an underground river that has defeated every scientific attempt to trace it. Researchers using dye tracers have been unable to determine where the water originates or where it surfaces. The cave also contains helictites, mineral formations that grow in directions that appear to defy gravity entirely, making it one of the more genuinely mysterious geological features in the state. Fact 24. The Susquehanna Gaps near Harrisburg have been a critical transportation corridor for thousands of years, first for Native American travel routes, then for canal systems, then for railroads, and today for highways. Every major east-west route through this part of Pennsylvania follows a path the river established long before humans arrived. The geography of the water gaps has been dictating where people travel through Pennsylvania for millennia. Fact 25, and the one that ties this entire list together. The Appalachian Mountains, running diagonally across Pennsylvania, are not a young range. They are the ancient, worn-down roots of a chain that was once comparable in scale to the modern Himalayas. What remains after hundreds of millions of years of erosion is not the peak of the mountains. It is the basement. The quartzite ridges, the sandstone cliffs, the anticlines and synclines visible in road cuts and river gorges across the state are the bones of something that used to tower above everything around it, and Pennsylvania is built directly on top of them. That is 25 facts that prove Pennsylvania is running a lot deeper than its reputation suggests. If one of these changed how you see the state, tell me which one in the comments. I read every single one. And if wild, real geography is your thing, subscribe to Wild States Facts. I am covering every state, one wild fact at a time. See you in the next one.